As you know, Donald Trump has been fast and furious issuing executive orders on a wide range of topics, including some regarding the fight to protect females and children from gender ideology. But my fear is that people are going to get complacent and think that the work is done, and that these orders go further than they actually do. So come along with me as I break down this latest order and why I just can't seem to get as excited as everyone else is. Welcome back to the channel today, everyone. So Donald Trump signed the executive order called Protecting Children from Chemical and Surgical Mutilation on Tuesday evening. Now, you know I've been fighting against children being placed on puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, along with having gender surgery for a few years, and I've gotten some big wins at the state level. So this order dropped, and a lot of the big accounts were calling it a ban, so of course I had to see what it said. Because I also know that the president doesn't have the power to simply ban these things with the stroke of a pen, and I was afraid that all those accounts were saying it was a ban were all just going to cause a lot of people to take their eyes off the ball when there's still a lot of work to be done. And as I expected, the executive order does not outright ban these procedures. The first thing that it does, however, is prevent federal money from paying for these things. And there's a lot of minors on Medicare and Medicaid that receive these treatments. The purpose of the order states, "It is the policy of the United States that it will not fund, sponsor, promote, assist, or support the so-called transition of children from one sex to another, and it will rigorously enforce all laws that prohibit or limit these destructive and life-altering procedures." Now, the wording of that is significant, as it is not an actual ban on these procedures, and yes, removing these federal funds is a good thing, but it will not stop this when a lot of these states have their own medical system paying for this kind of stuff. As well, Planned Parenthood is one of the largest providers, and I will bet that they will do exactly what they did with the Hyde Amendment, which prevents them from using federal funds for abortion. It doesn't. They will also find a way to get around this. It's really why we need to defund Planned Parenthood. But also, make no doubt that charities will be stood up to fund this stuff as well. And now, I have long said legislation is all good and well, but we need to end the culture that incentivizes these big money-making procedures for doctors. And I really think some of the most significant steps in this order will help that process along. And so first, it orders the agencies to forget the World Professional Association of Transgender Health Standards of Care. It says, "The blatant harm done to children by chemical and surgical mutilation cloaks itself as medical necessity. Spurred by guidance from the World Professional Association of Transgender Health, WPATH, which lacks scientific integrity, in light of scientific concerns with the WPATH guidance, agencies shall rescind or amend all policies that rely on WPATH guidance, including WPATH Standards of Care 8. It then orders HHS to immediately review data such as the unnamed CAST report to determine the recommendations in how to best treat those presenting with gender dysphoria, rapid onset gender dysphoria, and other identity-based confusion." As well, it orders the HHS to do something I have long wanted, but trans rights activists have pushed back against, and that is doing studies and getting the actual data. It says, "The Secretary of HHS, as appropriate and consistent with applicable law, shall use all available methods to increase the quality of data to guide practices for improving the health of minors with gender dysphoria, rapid onset gender dysphoria, or other identity-based confusion, or who otherwise seek chemical and surgical mutilation." By removing the backing of HHS recommendations for these procedures, it will make detransitioners' lawsuits easier to win. Both of your lawsuits are so important for different reasons, right? I think, Chloe, your lawsuit, along with Prisha's and Luca's and all the other detransition lawsuits, are so important because what that does is it de-incentivizes doctors from wanting to be able to perform this. If it's going to hit them in their pocketbook, they're not going to want to do it. And we've actually seen this. We've seen it with insurance companies. Even in states where it is legal to perform these procedures, malpractice insurance companies are going, you know what? We're not going to cover you if you perform this stuff, even in those states. So that's what your lawsuits are doing. That's why I think that's what's going to win the war. And then it takes the "I was following the recommended guidance" off the table moving forward, which in turn makes malpractice insurance companies less likely to cover doctors who perform these procedures, so it is a significant step forward in ending the incentivization of the money process. And then lastly, it protects whistleblowers like Jamie Reed and Tamara Pietsky, who pulled back the curtain on the harmful procedures that are done on minors and how many are forced to do it or risk their job by speaking out. The order says, the Secretary of HHS shall promptly withdraw the HHS's March 2, 2022 guidance document titled HHS Notice and Guidance on Gender-Affirming Care, Civil Rights, and Patient Privacy, and in consultation with the Attorney General, issue new guidance protecting whistleblowers who take action related to ensuring compliance with this order. Now, the order goes on with using the Department of Justice to work with the states to stop these practices, but that is only going to help those states willing to ban the procedures in the first place. It also directs agencies to work with Congress to make a law because, as we know, an executive order can simply be reversed by the next president. The issue is that it requires 60 votes in the Senate to end the filibuster, which would essentially mean that 7 Democrats would have to flip on the issue, and unfortunately, I don't see that happening. In the end, we need to change the culture that thinks that performing these actions on kids is okay. Lawsuits, like we have already seen, will de-incentivize it, but we need to continue the work in legislatures across the country to ban it, because like abortion, it will continue to be a state's issue for a very long time. As well, this is just an executive order, and even if it passes law challenges, it can be reversed by the next Democrat that holds the presidency, which could be as soon as 4 years. A change in culture over the next 4 years would help de-incentivize a Democrat from even reversing it if they gain power again. Which also goes back to my last video. It's why we need to quit arguing about language use rather than substance. Leftists would love to filibuster the debate for the next 4 years arguing about language rather than opening people's eyes to the real harm that's being done. And I'll be right here working on that culture because I believe people in my position hold a certain power in getting the centrists to see our side as not hateful, but as wanting to do what's right by protecting kids. This is why we can't get complacent. It is why I have a hard time celebrating this as much as others are. It's a step in the right direction, but there is still a lot of work to be done, and I think a lot of people are now thinking it's over and we'll move on. And we will lose time trying to, in what we need to change the culture. But with that, let me know what you think in the comment section. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button. Follow me across all social media platforms, and I'll see you next time.